USA Ultimate proudly presents the 2019 US Open Ultimate Championship. It's time for our second semifinal of the day. It's the first men's division semifinal featuring the defending national champions, the Triple Crown winners from 2018, New York PoNY, against DC Truck Stop, who has been looking fantastic so far this weekend. In fact, both these teams overcame deficits in the quarterfinal round this morning. PoNY was down 5-3 against Buzz Bullets from Japan, come back to win. Sub-Zero had a second half lead, but Truck Stop was better down the stretch. And today we see PoNY and Truck Stop. Hello again, everybody, with Ian Toner and Megan Tormey down in the field. I am Evan Lepler. These two East Coast teams have been rising in the division. Truck Stop has run into some tough matchups at Nationals past, but Truck Stop is hoping this could be the year, and this would be an important stepping stone for the DC team.
As excited as I am to see the action play out on the field, I'm almost more excited to see the coaching adjustments because there's such a great respect and rivalry between Daryl Stanley's staff and Ben Van Hoevelen and Brian Jones' staff.
Yeah, they keep track of every single game there. They compare against each other. They've got the count in their heads. Pride of New York, founded in 2005, their best year ever in 2018, and they've added some new pieces. Grant Lindsley joins this squad this year. A few other twists and turns roster-wise, but Jimmy Mickle is back, and I'm not sure there's anybody in the sport playing better than this guy right now.
He's the focal point of their offense, and I think the key to watch over the course of this weekend and this game here is to see how he works with those new pieces, how Grant Lindsley gets on the same page with him, how Alex Thorne gets on the same page with him.
Obviously, Chris Kocher, his backfield mate in Australia, and now with New York as well. DC Truck Stop, led by Daryl Stanley, as you mentioned. Alex Crew is his assistant. Cranston Castine, veteran members of the truck. And Rowan McDonald has taken his game to a new level. And it's possible, Ian, that we're discussing an Ultimate World that has McDonald at the top of the player hierarchy by the end of the year. He's that good.
He's got every throw in the book, and he also prides himself on his endurance and his ability to grind out points, to double shift and triple shift when needed. I'll be interested to keep an eye on the pitch count of sorts and see how much he gets involved today.
He throws a lot of pitches, I can tell you that. And Mickle and McDonald, two guys that play with a smile on their faces. Harper Garvey, usually smiling, looks like he's getting his game face honed right now. We got PoNY and Truck Stop. This is going to be a really entertaining battle between two high-powered teams. Opening pull coming up. The USA Ultimate US Open Club Championships are presented by Spin Ultimate, providing custom team uniforms and ultimate apparel since 2007. Visit Spin Ultimate on the web at spinultimate.com. By the Ultimate History Book, illuminating the legendary stories, moments, and photos from the sport of Ultimate over the past 50 years. Learn more at ultimatehistorybook.com. And by Discraft, home of the Ultra Star, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Now featuring an updated website to make ordering custom discs easier than ever. Visit Discraft.com for all your custom disc needs. Bright sunny skies here in Minnesota for PoNY and Truck Stop. Down on the field, the third member of our broadcast team, Megan Tormey, has a little bit more on the new players on each of these rosters. Megan?
Thanks so much, Evan. You know, both of these teams have great programs and have for a long time, but it is going to be interesting to see how the new experienced players make a difference this game. PoNY boasts Grant Lindsley, Jimmy Mickle, and Jack Hatchett. And on Truck Stop, there's Nikki Spiva, who recently played for Ironside and is one of the leading goal scorers for Truck Stop this tournament.
Yeah, Spiva playing in the mixed division last year with AMP, and he's been all around the division, playing with Chain Lightning in the past as well. Starting lineup for Truck Stop, these new jerseys that they're boasting. We'll get to those in a moment. Delrico Johnson with David Cranston, Nate Castine, the veteran, Christian Johnson as well, formerly with Revolver, Troy Holland, David Bloodgood, and Spiva. This has been the primary D-line for DC. And New York on offense, Lindsley, Dean. Alex Thorne was not here yesterday, joins PoNY today with Mickle, Kocher, Sean Keegan, and Garvey, the two handlers and they have been rocks for the Pony offense. Keegan and Garvey. For Ben Van Hoevelen, who was just named the USA men's team head coach. That'll lead the United States of America in the Netherlands next July. Pony in the black, truck stop in the white, and Garvey centers to Keegan, a familiar start for Pony. Mickle picked up by Spiva at the front of the stack. Grant Lindsley makes a move from the back of the stack. And this is Alex Thorne. And his reset looking for Keegan floats just long enough. Ian, what are you expecting from Alex Thorne? We've seen Lindsley a bunch. Thorne played with him for a bit in Colorado at the Pro Elite Challenge back in July, excuse me.
I'm expecting Alex to function a lot like Sean Keegan does. Just another person that can sit in that 1 or 2 position at the front of the stack, or can even be the anchoring handler and get those resets in tough, tight spaces.
Mickle blading cross field. What a catch made by Lindsley. That throw was knifing toward the ground at a sharp velocity, and Lindsley kept it alive and scored the goal.
Well, that was not look 1A in the Pony's playbook, or the progression of reads downfield, but this is why Jimmy Mickle is one of the best, if not the best player in the world at the moment. His vision and his ability to execute. I've seen so many players in the past take that crossfield shot, think they can get it over the stack, but not put the disc on the money, and Jimmy's 100% so far early on.
Offensive hold. Lindsley, of course, a member of the Revolver team as well, that lost to Pony in the championship game last year, and kind of the lingering feeling from Nationals last year was how Pony just embarrassed Revolver in that championship game. There's a different burden on Pony in 2019, though, a different pressure. They are the hunted in the division.
Everyone is measuring themselves against New York Pony, how they fare against them in these regular season tournaments. And it's a little tricky because Pony isn't always traveling with its full squad to every tournament.
They do not have Ben Yacht or Ben Katz or Bo Kittredge or Jeff Babbitt available to play this weekend, but they still have a ton of talent. We see Jack Hatchett on the Pony D-line, longtime Boston Ironside player. Markham Schaffner catches the under for the truck offense. And there's some new faces on this truck stop team that we're excited to show you about. Here's Jeff Wodatch, not a fresh face. And that throw squeezed through, but clanked off the hands of the intended target, Joe Freund. Game's first turnover. Milo Snyder takes the reset for Sam Little. We saw Sam Little play a lot of offense last year. He's been playing mostly defense for Pony this weekend. Gets the disc from Meeser, who takes off deep.
I thought he was one of the most underrated parts of that offensive unit last year. Just
with you.
Able to fill whenever needed.
Ryan Drost resets it to Little. Swings the disc all the way cross field to the free space. Beg your pardon, that's Mike Drost, number 80. Into the end zone, a Pony break. Jabron Meeser hauls in a little flick from Evan Padgett. And it's 2-0 New York quickly.
We get a look at this turnover here. Wodatch saw Freund underneath. I'm not sure if he was a little phased by the footsteps of his teammate, Markham Schaffner, but as Pony finishes off this break, credit to Evan Padgett. He's one of the oft overlooked additions to this squad that joined, also has national championship pedigree and experience, having been teammates with Jimmy Mickle back in 2014 on Johnny Bravo, and it's great to see him contributing to the Pony D-line.
Meeser the goal and Padgett the assist. I can think of a couple other teammates of Padgett and Mickle on that 2014 Johnny Bravo team.
Keegan, of course, playing in this game.
Anyone else involved with the broadcast?
I don't know. Do we have a broadcast roster? Can we do some research?
So DC with an important spot here to punch back. This pull is almost perfect, but it sails about 2 yards beyond the back line of the end zone. So Nikki Spiva, who has played more D-line for truck stop than offense, will pick up, trying to bounce back from the break.
And I think defense is one of Nicky's greatest strengths. He sets a very large, very adaptive mark, and he's so dynamic after the turnover. You can have him be that anchor who stretches the field.
Rowan McDonald at midfield to Spiva. And a pick downfield slows things down.
On 2.
Marquez Brownlee chasing Christian Johnson, who's there for the underneath. Shooting deep, looking for Cranston near the back line, and it's incomplete. Kevin Norton, the trailing defender, and you know what? I think Cranston had room to make that catch, but the complication of the back line with the defender prevented him from doing so.
And not only that, if you look at that replay, it looked like he may have lost the disc in the sun for a split second. A lot of variables to sort out as he was approaching that back line at a high rate of speed.
Lamar, quick dish to Joshua Steven-Stein, and then continues to Tyler Haskell. Back to Lamar. And another pick downfield. PoNY did lose a game in this U.S. Open, falling to Ring of Fire from Raleigh. As you see the observers, Carey, Beret, Shaver, and Haynes. It's a good game against Ring that PoNY played. It was tied 5-all. No breaks. There were no turns through the first 8 points of the game. And then Ring caught a couple of breaks. Won that game 14-10. Lamar lets it fly, looking for Haskell. And Haskell's denied at the last second by Castine, but it appears a foul was called. And that's one of those plays, Ian. It looks like Nate got the disc, but he also got Haskell through the back.
You could tell he was trying to avoid contact by just swiping his arm around, but you can see there's not only contact on the back, he also came and hit Haskell's forearm.
We gotta talk about it. Yeah, of course.
So I felt like I got full disc before any contact at all, but I tried to figure out the to get it. I think I'm fine with it.
It's a contested foul.
Got a contested foul. It appears that team misconduct foul has been issued.
18,
Break it down
18.
for us, Ian.
Throw it back to them.
Okay,
Throw
well,
it back to them. Throw it back to them.
Castine's been assessed a team misconduct foul, and you can see the specifics there on your screen. I'm not sure I agree with that call. I think there
With the
was
TMF.
with the TMF. I think
Possession will stay with PoNY.
Castine had the ability to make the play without contact. He did. There's an argument there.
Put it in play. Nicky
It's not the most clear-cut or definitive TMF or I've seen, TMF-worthy foul I've seen, but he did slightly leave his feet and make contact with the back, not only the arm of Haskell.
Deep shot looking for Aloro. And he bid, and it's off his fingertips. And that's PoNY's first turnover.
And I'm not sure he was going to come down in bounds, even if he had caught that, because he was in the air.
2-3-2. They're zone. They're zone.
I'm not sure he needed a bid. Easy for me to say from the comfortable air-conditioned perch that I'm sitting in, but still. Castine to Bloodgood. Johnson looking for McDonald. Back corner of the end zone. He is inbounds. And there are no calls, which means truck stop is on the board.
Christian Johnson to the end zone for Rowan McDonald and the truck stop score.
A taxing hold here for this DC offensive unit. Some turnovers on both sides. And this is an area where Christian Johnson has really elevated his game. You know, I was teammates with him earlier in the decade back on Ring of Fire when he was still in college at North Carolina Chapel Hill, and he was known as a speedster receiver. And he wasn't someone who was going to make you pay with his throws. But over time, he got great experience with Revolver out in the Bay Area, and now that he's back on the East Coast, he's really developed his vision and his throwing execution. And now, when he gets the disc after a turnover, you can see how he can stretch the field and open up those downfield options more so than he did when he was a young college player.
So Johnson gets truck stop on the board. We're going to show you this controversial play one more time. Nate Castine clearly frustrated, whether it was completely by the fact that he created contact or by the fact that the foul was called. It's not for us to say. Play that will be discussed for sure going forward. Grant Lindsley has the first catch for PoNY, and now here's Mickle. Mickle picked up by 19-year-old Jeremy Hess, who has been a bright spot. Just finished his sophomore year at Maryland. Hess in the number 8 jersey. Made some big-time grabs over big-time players so far this year.
He's gotten the better of Matt Rader on Seattle Sockeye and Toronto Goat. Mark Lloyd. Excited to see how his athletic potential plays out.
Out, Alex, out!
Chris Kocher
Good, William, out now, out hard, out hard, out hard.
resets to Lindsley.
Keep going, William, keep going now. Yes, Sean.
And Mickle to the end zone.
Nice,
The steady filler for the PoNY O-line, William Dean. Doesn't make mistakes. Often scores the goal to punctuate the point.
So many complementary pieces on this PoNY O-line. Of course, you have your superstars and Mickle and Lindsley, and you could make arguments for Keegan and others to be in that conversation. But like you said, William Dean is another one of those pieces that just knows his role and knows how to finish and execute when he's needed. I see him functioning and operating much the same way Sam Little did last year, and they both shared time on the O-line together during that championship season.
Couple assists in the first 4 points of the game for Mickle. Benyat walks across the picture. 26-year-old Minneapolis native, unavailable to play this weekend, but they'll be certainly counting on him, and I'm curious how Yacht's return to the O-line will impact a guy like Dean. You know, will Dean still have a spot when Yacht returns on offense?
27-man roster, lots of room for...
Yeah, and I'm not sure the answer is that necessarily takes Dean's spot, because I think every team needs a guy like Dean. You know, you could have 7 All-Stars on the line, or you could have 6 All-Stars and a guy like Dean, and you might be better off.
Lots of decisions for Ben Van Hoevelen and Brian Jones to make.
Over the top of McDonald. Heck of an athletic play by Conrad Schlor. but he may have got Rowan in the back.
Clear foul.
You agree?
Yeah.
Take care of that. I didn't think that my foul.
So in order to get it, to me, it looked like he had to land on top of you, similar to that one over there, which was probably a foul.
Yeah. I went to jump guy, caught it in the back.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so contested foul, do you want to come to me?
I'd like to go.
You'd like to come to me? Okay, Marilyn, it is a foul. Okay, it's going to be your disc. It's going to be on one, okay? On one. Let me check. Defense will check. Defense will check on one.
Rowan McDonald to put the disc in play.
Check it in.
The sport has evolved from where we were a few years ago, where there was a clear delineation between, hey, I got the disc first, and there was almost an acceptance, especially in the men's game, where if there was contact after you got the disc first, then the foul was oftentimes overturned. But now there's more of an emphasis on if contact is created because of your athleticism that got you the foul, even if you got there first, it can still be a foul. And it's confusing, and it's a fine line, and we're still trying to figure it out ourselves. But it seems like there has been an evolution from a few years ago to now.
And I think there's more concern about player safety and the frequency of dangerous plays than ever before.
Nathan Pryor, hammer to the end zone for Jeff Wodach.
Straight deep, baby, let's go. Yeah, New York!
Nathan Pryor to the end zone for Jeff Wodach, and the truck stop score.
You think about how much this DC squad has evolved over the course of this decade. They've been so close to breaking through to the semifinals for so many seasons. You go back to 2014 when they fell just short to the eventual champions Johnny Bravo. 2015 they lose on Universe Point to eventual champions Revolver, both in the quarterfinals. And there's been a lot of turnover on this team, but one of those constants and guys that have been there through the highs and the lows, Jeff Wodach, and it's great to see him still finding a solid place and being a difference maker on that offensive unit.
Road to the championship, semifinals at least, coming back against Sub-Zero this morning. Sub-Zero came out hot in that game. Home team sleeping in their own beds. And DC was remarkable down the stretch. Wodach, by the way, in his 11th year on Truck Stop. It's 3 years longer than anyone else has been on the team currently. Markham Schaffner, Eric Miner, beg your pardon, David Cranston in his 9th year. So Wodach still has the rest of the team clear by 2 in the longevity department. It's a tough break of the mark by Keegan, breaking Castine to Mickle. Back to Garvey. Gotta tell you, Harper Garvey has evolved. Speaking of that word, he was a gunslinger the past couple of years, and he has reined his game in to channel his incredible throwing ability to a much higher percentage of success.
Absolutely agree with you, and that decision making is what has led the coaching staff of New York Pony to trust him on that offensive unit.
There were thoughts last year, maybe, as we see Keegan go full extension to make the grab. At some point, you thought maybe they'd throw Garvey on the D-line, and that was a high stall count push pass from Keegan. And Spiva deflects to the turf, and Pony will have to play defense here. Truck with a chance to break back and get us on serve again. Christian Johnson in the middle of the field. Castine makes a tough catch. Elrico Johnson back to Spiva. Oh, he had Johnson deep, and instead underneath it's Chance Cochran. Pick downfield, disc continued to Johnson, who's all by himself. I mean, no one's within 20 yards of him.
going back.
Sell out, baby. Tighten up and go win it.
Just coming back to Chance Cochran.
Cochran, the product of Tulane, really talented young player
It's you, Jimmy.
from the
Balls
DC
in the middle,
area
Al.
originally.
Your side, Al. Your side.
Make some space.
Balls in the middle. Al, you got to tighten up. Al, you got to tighten up.
Spiva to space, hangs up there. Cochran on the doorstep.
Ike, reel. Get in front, Ike. Isaac, get in front.
Spiva's throw was too far behind the lunging Castine. Easily picked by Lindsley. That's a killer error right there.
It looked like Castine was
Yes, New York.
coming back for the reset around and then planted his foot to attack up line.
Mickle lasers a flick downfield, and it is perfect. I guess it could have been a little more perfect. Could have floated another yard for Alex Thorne.
Big call.
He ran right between us.
Where's everybody?
Here we go, Sean.
Just a little miscommunication there. Spiva and Castine have been teammates before, but not for a couple of years. Timeout taken by Thorne.
Alex Thorne with possession of the disc.
Now 29-year-old product of the University of Pittsburgh, won a couple of titles in college at Pitt. Check out this rip from Jimmy.
We've seen quite a few games here in this stadium at the National Sports Center be heavily impacted by wind. But for the most part, we've had a very calm afternoon. And I think that's opening the range for throwers of all skill levels, and we know Jimmy is not one to be shy when he sees an opportunity.
Is there a more powerful thrower in the sport right now than Mickle?
I think you can take my silence and a couple seconds of thinking about it as a, no, there's not. Jimmy's at the top of that list.
I would agree. Product of Golden, Colorado. Had that magical 2014 where he won the Callahan, the college title, and the club title all in 1 year. It had never been done before.
Chance, your primary, baby.
Alex Thorne with the disc just outside of the end zone.
Primary neck.
Oh, tough grab by Garvey, showing off his quickness to beat Delrico Johnson, who had left his feet. Back to Keegan. Last time he touched it, he turned it over. This time squeezes it through to Mickle. Gets a nice friendly hug from Delrico.
Nikki. No, we're good.
Use your anger. All right, easy guys, easy.
That's the thing. Everything Keegan says, we're gonna agree with.
Yeah, we can talk about it after.
Fair to say, there are some strong personalities on both these teams.
Guys, let's talk about it after.
Certainly fair to say, and when PoNY runs an offense that's predicated on a lot of front of the stack resets in short spaces, there are going to be moments of contact.
No foul called. It was uncontested.
Mickle to Kocher. Back to Jimmy, just shy of the goal line.
Coming.
And breaking the mark to Kocher, who spikes it between his legs, and PoNY celebrates a 4-2 lead.
This is not what you want to do if you're DC. You do not want to get Jimmy fired up and angry. You can see his body language after the point. I've been on the receiving end of one of those 100-mile-an-hour high fives. And he's having a conversation with the observer.
Steve.
We are still at heat level 1.
And you can hear Jimmy saying he can't cover
Extra
me.
3 minutes. between these points.
Do they have spirit captains?
PoNY and Truck Stop will both catch their breaths, as will
Spirit
we.
captains here? Yeah. This should probably be a good time.
Michael!
And Bill Beret, the observer down there, just asked, are the Spirit captains available? Because this would probably be a good time for a conversation.
Waiting for Nikki.
Hey, Truck Spirit Captain.
Yeah.
Truck Spirit Captain, please.
Guys,
Spirit Captain Nikki, is that right? Spicky?
you'll convey the
We need
message,
Spirit
guys.
Cap, please.
It's not as clean as we'd like it out there. Would we
Let's have a
agree on
little
that?
conversation.
Right? Talk to our players, clean it up. Good enough, because we would rather you guys handle it. Look, I saw Nikki and the guy that was, or not Nikki, I saw Jimmy and the guy who was on him getting physical. Could have called a foul a long time ago. Instead, he let it erupt, right? That's up to the players to let them play to the level that they want to do, but we also, let's just get the message out to our players to make sure that it's clean. We can't have eruptions, one, and two, we're not going to have stoppages that long anymore this game. If you guys can't get it settled, we're going to get in there and settle it for you. We're empowered to do that, and we can. They have been prolonged stoppages. Okay. Any questions?
Not related. Is it heat timeout? Still runs the clock?
Yes. Yes. It'll stop at halftime. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. And you had a question?
My player was TMF.
Yes.
Wasn't communicated with what?
So there's no way that he can make that play without having the.
2 minutes for hand, guys. 2 minutes for hands.
We were just uncomfortable at that level.
He didn't know why. And I thought that was a little like he felt like he didn't hear from you why the reason was. So
I
he could not
apologize
adjust
for that.
his play.
I thought I made it clear that was.
I mean, I think that is semi-clear, maybe to all of us.
Where's Bill?
It's nice to have the observers mic'd up, isn't it?
Our crew is a bunch of all-stars. There's no doubt about that.
And I thought that was well handled by Hank Carey. Taking the advantage, we're in a level 1 heat advisory, so it's a 3-minute break. This is a good time to cool off in more ways than one. Which was basically his message, saying we have the power as observers to take charge of this game, and if you don't take charge first, we will be forced to step in, which is exactly the role I think observers should play.
I was a little surprised to see, it felt like Brian Jones was responding favorably to the discussion about lowering the level of physicality on the resets. I didn't see any agreement or acknowledgement from Daryl Stanley or his staff or any of the truck guys. And,
sure.
You know, I can understand it's a contentious game, and at this point, we just have to see how they respond on the field.
Well, Truck had an opportunity to break on that last point, but Spiva's throw a little bit behind Castine, turned it over, and PoNY marches with their O-line back downfield. Turnovers from both Keegan and Spiva, 2 of the top throwers on the team. There have been 5 total turnovers in the game's first 6 points. 2 for PoNY, 3 for Truck. PoNY is 4 of 5 in the red zone thus far. All their goals coming on close shots. They had the big huck from nickel to Thorne, but it landed just shy of the goal line. So now Nathan Pryor. Downfield for Markham Schaffner. Christian Boxley making a move in the downfield space, but the swing comes to Ted Seither. Seither played with DC Space Heater in the mixed division last year. Current student at the University of Oregon, also a member of the U24 gold medal winning USA team. Here's Boxley. Throw a little bit behind McDonald, but a good adjustment.
Great matchup there. Jack Hatchett, another one of the new additions this year for PoNY. He's been a long-time Boston defender matching up against Rowan.
Turnover free hold from Truck Stop, punctuated with a clap catch from Gus Norbaum. 21-year-old out of William and Mary.
Prior to the end zone for Gus Norbaum in the Truck Stop score. That's New York 4, DC 3.
Great work by Nate Pryor, keeping this disc moving. Looks like he's got a lot of chemistry with Seither and Norbaum. you can see Pryor was the fulcrum for that offense in the final half there.
As he often is for DC.
And he wasn't looking for the glory hero shot to the end zone. He was just going through his looks and seeing, hey, it's my job to move this disc out wide. It's my job to keep changing that angle. And that's why he's so valuable and so consistent in this division.
Pryor, one of the underrated top handlers in the country.
Couldn't agree with you more.
And a guy, like, he takes the mindset, I think, he doesn't turn the disc over because he doesn't really want to play defense. I think he realizes that's not his strength. But it's true, if he doesn't turn the disc over, then the offense doesn't either. He doesn't have to play D. And he plays cautious, conservative, but smart, and he's capable of making the big play. Garvey to Keegan to start the PoNY point. New York leading 4-3 first half.
Interesting to see Hess drawing the Mickle matchup
As
this
he
point.
shoots it again, Kocher being chased by Cochran, and it's Kocher in the end zone who makes the grab. Mickle to Kocher yet again.
Well, you can see the DC defense wanted to stop the deep shot right off the bat. Defenders peeling off in the lane, but once that disc got out wide to Mickle, he just had so much room, time and space to step into this backhand.
So let's play your least favorite game. How do you try and stop Jimmy Mickle? Maybe the best player in the world right now. Would you rather he be a thrower, or would you rather force him downfield?
You're right, this is my least favorite game in the world. I would like to have him throwing more frequently, and if there's a way where you can construct your defensive strategy where you're trying to go flat on Jimmy and trying to force as many of his downfield options out and away from the disc and eliminate that squirrely short space reset game, I think that's the area where I feel my likelihood for turnover generation is greatest. But again, you can see he's capable of making you pay when people get separation deep as well.
You know, it's interesting. I feel like you could say similar things about all of PoNY's O-line downfield cutters as the deep shot goes up looking for McDonald. Hatchet there defensively, and McDonald light on his feet, elevated for the score when it looked like Jack was about to pounce.
We saw Jack trying to make up ground, trying to come from that backside. Rowan just had position the entire time. That inside line, keeping Hatchet on his back. There was no way for Hatchet to cleanly high point it at the moment he wanted. And Markham Schaffner is never afraid of shooting the disc deep.
No.
It's something that's been a staple of his game for as long as he's been a part of this truck stop squad. And now his commitment is more tested than ever because he's still suiting up for DC truck stop, but he's recently relocated to the Bay Area.
So DC back within one. 3 straight points have been turnover free. Felrico Johnson prepared to pull. PoNY O-line, Garvey, Mickle, Kocher, Keegan, Lindsley, Dean, and Thorne.
Yeah, blood.
Pretty good pull coverage from the DC defense.
More! You in the hut! Go around. More, blood, more! I got you back! I got you! Casting, looking,
Christian Johnson, Grant Lindsley, teammates the last several years on Revolver, guarding each other at this point.
Go inside, inside.
Heard a lot of stories about Revolver practices through the years. the only time you could see that Lindsley Johnson matchup in the past.
Nikki Spiva drawing the Mickle matchup this point, and he's been very effective early on. Made Jimmy work.
Okay.
Well, he's had a lot of experience guarding him. I mean, in World Games practice in the past. Had a front row seat myself to some of those, and you know, incredibly competitive battles in those World Games practices, especially when they were still competing for those final roster spots, because they choose the 10 guys and the 10 girls, and then have to cut down the roster from 20 to 14.
It might have been a new call. I don't know, new call?
I think was it a violation?
Spiva's been among the 20 selected for the World Games each of the last 2 iterations. Last World Games 2 years ago in Wrocław, Poland.
And
World Games coming to the U.S. in Birmingham, Alabama in 2021.
Okay, no contestants can come in at 1, okay?
More contact again between Castine and Keegan.
Okay, on your check, sir. On your check.
Castine trying to close that gap as they both sprint up line.
Here's Mickle. Launching. Low throw, and it somehow gets there after it was deflected by, I believe, Castine. Kocher caught the ricochet.
David!
And a little scoop to the end zone, snatched by Garvey. PoNY leads 6-4, although that one was not so easy.
I'm not going to say I told you so, but look at the conditions that almost led to that DC turnover.
And it was Johnson, not Castine, who got a piece of it.
Jimmy's got to rip the disc deep. A lot of his short field reset options are taken away, and a lot of people downfield are being pushed out and away from the disc. I know Jimmy probably wants that huck back. He thinks he can execute it a little differently.
What would you call that throw that Kocher used to get it to the end zone?
Just an elevator high release backhand. Probably an elevator. That's what I'd call it.
Got a feeling Rowan McDonald appreciated the finesse, even though it came at his own team's expense. Only one break so far in this game. It came on the second point. PoNY led 2-0.
We're back in. Hey, put pressure on the primary reset. Put pressure on the primary reset.
Here Brian Jones yelling, put pressure on the primary reset. Trusting that the downfield defense will force the defense to look for the swing or the dump. And then when that first dump reset's not there, that's when a team can really start to look flustered. McDonald rips it, looking for Wodach. Few PoNY defenders there, and it's Meeser who peeled off and gets a piece of it. How good has he been lately for PoNY?
A difference-making defender. And I think the challenge here was that McDonald put that disc so far across the field, giving so much time and space for other help defenders not necessarily assigned to Wodach to be able to come in and make up ground and make a play on the disc.
Here's Hatchett. Bouncing Freund on the mark. Jack may have a new jersey. He doesn't have a new hat. As the throw goes up, testing McDonald. That's usually not a good idea, and Rowan comes down with a D.
You saw Sam Little raise his hand and put his head down. He knows that one's on him. I think Conrad Schlor was just already too deep by the time Little pulled the trigger. If you're looking at that separation when Schlor is closer to the disc, it might be a more advantageous look.
Come on, Josh. Josh, active.
PoNY again trying to pressure those resets. Norbaum up line. Pryor takes a look around. That was a nice throw. And then Nathan Pryor sending McDonald, who makes an adjustment near the sideline. And did he get back in bounds? Observer says yes. What a play from Rowan McDonald. The last second adjustment to get the toes in bounds for the truck stop score.
This is why you never give up until the disc has hit the turf. Jockeying and bodying for position, both Schlor and McDonald go up on the first attempt, and McDonald has the presence of mind. McDonald has the presence of mind not only to stay with the disc, but also to try and adjust his feet to come back in bounds.
So hard to tell if that right foot was on the line or not, but the observer was right there and rules it in. So Rowan's got his third goal of the half for DC. Making amends after he turned it over on the huck. He gets the D and the score to finish the point. PoNY now just 1 of 3 on break chances. Missed their last 2 opportunities.
Let's go, Blaine, hustle. Inside, around. Grayson looking up.
Keegan to Kocher. Spiva takes Kocher this time. Troy Holland trying to keep up with Jimmy Mickle.
Around. Tight. Get on the mark.
Sun beating down on all these players as Grant Lindsley makes the catch underneath. And a stoppage downfield.
Was it here?
It's here.
Yeah. Okay, so black ball foul. I assume it's gonna stay here.
Bill, the foul
Disc
is
was
here.
this is in midair? Was the disc after the throwing motion?
Was this in the? So wait, we have a foul. We have a foul here.
Okay, after. Okay, so
his
stay
throw.
here, guys.
Okay, we have
Should
a
be-
foul
yeah,
away.
should be
So we have a
play
foul
It's
away
gonna
from
be
the disc.
on one, okay.
We're here on 1. Yep, we're
It's
here
gonna
on
be
1.
here
It
on
was
one,
in the
guys.
air. We had a foul on the disc. Yes, we're here
Guys,
on 1.
it's supposed
It
to
was a
play
foul.
on. Here we go. You check him.
Can't forget Keegan's history with this DC squad. He's been teammates battling closely with Cranston earlier in the decade as well.
Keegan and Cranston are both shoulder to shoulder, and an observer's charging in, and he's gonna give a team misconduct foul to Cranston. Frankly,
It's resolved. We're done.
I got it here.
We're here on 1.
I'm too far away to get
1
you.
second.
We can definitely get you one after.
Jonah, can you go?
watch these two guys banging bodies. I am as anti-double T as any basketball fan in the world. I would have given both those guys a blue card right there. They were both instigating with each other.
Yeah, Troy, good mark. All the way out. You're fine, David. No rounds. All the way out. Inside, all inside.
Both guys trying to send a message.
Gotta get out. Out.
Ball.
Yeah, Koch. Keep working, baby.
Bloodgood feels
We have a foul.
Harvey
We have a foul
pushed
away from the
off
disc. We're here on 1. There was no mark. We're here on 1.
in that reset space right there at the goal line.
We're here on 1. Check the disc when ready, please. Let's get it moving.
Goal line stand.
Pretty good defense from Holland near the front of the end zone. Cranston got a piece of it, but Keegan called a foul.
The observer's right there. I mean, I'd like to go to the observer.
Cranston wants the observer's opinion.
You're not gonna talk. No more talking. Sean, I think I touched this. I don't think I made body contact. I'd like to go to the observer. I thought you hit my hand.
Okay. That's what I'm going for. So he's asked to go to the observer. Very long answer that it was a foul. You did hit him on the hand. So did you have possession? Yeah, no, it's not a goal. It's not a goal. So you're gonna have possession here. Yeah, like you guys have to something. This is just hard. That was just common foul. That was a common foul. That was a common foul. We're coming in right here. We're coming in right here on one. In on one.
I do think Cranston touched plastic first, but he may have followed through into Keegan's hand.
Nikki!
Pretty good goal line defense from DC Truck Stop.
Let's go.
PoNY turns it over for just the 4th time in the half. Another break chance for Truck. Bloodgood shoots it. Johnson got it. DC with a break.
And there's more conversation here. Jimmy and Nikki. Jimmy Mickle and Nikki Spiva having a conversation with Keegan and Rowan McDonald at midfield.
There's a lot going on right now.
Timeout! Truck stop!
We're even at 6. Each team has gotten one break through the first 12 points.
I need this.
Okay. I need not.
You have a timeout on the field. Truck Stop have taken their first timeout of the first half.
Truck Stop timeout. And Daryl Stanley, the head coach of the Breeze, the DC Truck Stop, he's also the head coach of the Breeze. Was an assistant coach on the USA national team.
So that's why
Looking for explanation.
and he pushed him in the back, and I said,
Or it's
fine,
fine.
we're
Just
going to
fine.
stop. Just so
It's 10 yards either way. It's not that difficult to find the middle.
you can relay that to him for me.
Line it up with the live ultimate going down the middle.
It's a non-issue.
Yes.
Thinking the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So,
Not making my case.
Hey, this is regular timeout. Sure. Is this a regular timeout, Hank? Yeah. Regular timeout.
what do you think about the contentiousness that we've seen?
So it looks like Daryl Stanley is calling a spirit timeout.
It could be great, so we're going to do that.
Okay.
So we actually call him
What do you want to do about time?
What do you mean? No, we're not taking a lot of time on this. Let's make it quick. We can expedite this.
Okay. Observer timeout.
Sure. No, we're good.
Observer taking time.
We may see a spirit timeout once a tournament, or once every other tournament.
Steve. Yeah. Sorry, I should have actually conferenced with you. It would have been better just if we would have like stepped over and said that. That's why I looked at you. I was pretty sure, but I knew you had it. I thought you might have. That's what I meant to.
Daryl Stanley still waiting hands on hips for Ben Van Hoevelen, the head coach of PoNY.
No.
Truck stop's taking one timeout. Right. We have two teammates on truck stop, right?
It seems to me a plan to build a window.
Get your teams out there. We're going. Let's go. Let's go. Jimmy, go. All right, gentlemen, that's our time, so we're going to get going. Hey, safety off the cards. Pull the pin. Hey, Steve. Yeah, Steve. People can argue about things hard for argument.
There's a lot going on here, and we can only tell you so much from our perch in the booth. My impression, Ian, is that everyone senses that we're close to boiling over, and they're trying. I don't feel we've boiled over yet, but we're close. And that might be what everyone is trying to prevent with a little preemptive mediation.
And I think both sides feel that, I think DC might feel that PoNY is making a big deal out of incidental contact or contact that may have been typical of defense played earlier in the tournament. And I think PoNY feels that DC is disregarding rules and still initiating contact despite warnings from the observers.
I wonder if things would have been any different if Nate Castine did not contest his first foul early in the game on the deep shot to the end zone to our left.
Certainly had a way of setting the tone, and it's hard to know exactly what was going through Nate's mind.
Gentlemen. In one. When you're ready.
On one.
Keegan took off. Lindsley takes the underneath to Dean. Reset for Lindsley. And shooting it to Dean. Couple defenders there in white, but William Dean makes the catch regardless. That's his second score, and an important one to reset the tone for PoNY.
Well, you could see Dean set that up. It wasn't a full speed deep cut, and Holland actually kind of ran through the stack. I guess he missed being picked by just a few feet, but what a pinpoint finish here from Lindsley. The way that disc blades and comes back to that outside shoulder with that outside in angle, if that's a flat throw and it doesn't bend back to that outside in shoulder, I think Holland is in better position to make the block.
Couple goals for Dean, who formerly played in Boston with Ironside, Harvard University product, and then Lindsley, college champion with Carleton, club champion with Revolver, world champion with Team USA a couple times.
Who's got four? Who's got four? 10 seconds to pull.
Winner of this game will take on the winner of Seattle Sockeye and Raleigh Ring of Fire in tomorrow's men's title game. That'll be airing on ESPN 2 at noon Eastern. Hatchet with the poach. Schaffner thinks it was a foul. These two guys have had a lot of battles through the years.
Do you want to go to the...
We're chill. We're not in like a fight. We're good. Oh, like
Yes.
but I think then it's I have to initiate. Okay. I think I have the disc. That's what I'm saying. With your hands fairly quick.
I think I initiate contact with the disc before rotation with
I'm trying to go to the observer and I'm trying to send it back. I think I have it. Okay.
Observer ruling, it was a strip and not one. Good talk, gentlemen.
Love to hear Markham and Jack explaining that, hey, look, these guys over here might be freaking out, but we're under control.
Schaffner launches Christian Boxley, chased by Grant Lindsley. What a catch. He had the steps, and then he skied for the score. Gave a little freestyle performance for the fans after hauling in the equalizer, 7-up.
So on replay there, it looks like Markham attacked with the overhand catch. It looked like he may have stopped rotation, and Hatchet came through and did strip the disc after Schaffner had stopped rotation.
And a quick deep shot to Boxley. I'm with you. Looked like a decent call by the way the rules are written. And As we discussed during the first women's semifinal, the rules are in the process of being rewritten right now. There has been a proposed 12th edition rule set that has been made public. Anyone can go on the USAUltimate.org website and read the substantive changes, make their feedback to the Rules Committee. Do you have any feedback you'd like to give to the Rules Committee here on national TV? Ian Toner?
And a little bit more grumpy than they ought to be, but it's
1 minute
so
pull.
I have a few thoughts.
So
I bet you do, and you've got a platform.
just go in there, and if you need to shut it like right here, just expedite.
Only 30 seconds for hand.
Looks like we're getting a different angle here.
The question is, does Hatchett touch the disc before Schaffner does? And right there, I think you can make a case that maybe he did.
And then, after Hatchett touched the disc, Schaffner stopped rotation.
Yeah, but then Jack didn't touch the disc again, and
there was no knee follow-through that may have touched the disc at all?
I didn't think so. And, I mean, frankly, that was...
Yeah, that's.
I mean, Jack got it with his hip.
Yeah. So if Jack got his hand on it first, I see that. I did see Markham stopping rotation, and then it's Jack's hip coming through and hitting the disc, if not Markham's hand as well.
I'm with you. Our replay operator took you off the hook. I'm not going to forget to ask you about the rules in a bit. Right now, Sean Keegan, marked by Nikki Spiva. Those guys have been teammates in the past. Like I say, it feels like Alex Thorne really fits into this offense. And for that matter, so does Grant Lindsley, who hauls in the deep shot from Keegan to take this game to half. Keegan chirps a bit as he follows through and heads to the sideline after the deep shot for Grant.
Washington, D.C. truck stop 7. We'll take a 10-minute half.
You can see Ben Van Hoevelen having a conversation with Keegan on the sideline, trying to keep him level-headed.
Involved in 3 of the 8 PoNY scores. Megan Tormey has been in the mix the entire first half, standing by with BVH.
Thanks so much, Evan. Ben, a lot of contentiousness in the first half. What do you say to your team to help kind of handle the pressure that causes?
Well, I think there are 2 conversations to have. One is you want to have a conversation with the other team to make sure that both teams are on the same page about what kind of physicality we want to be playing with and what kinds of calls are reasonable or not reasonable. And I think we've had good talks and we're doing our best to keep the tone as good as we can given what's happening on the field. With our team, I think the way that I've framed it to them is every time they are physical with us and fouling us, it's because we have a target on our back because of the success that we've had, and we just got to embrace that. We got to wear that target like a badge of honor and respond to it by playing our game.
And I want to ask a little bit about those preemptive conversations that you've had in the Spirit time. What was the outcome of that? What was the resolution?
I mean, I think there were broadly 2 things that we were saying to each other. One was truck stop talking with us about a level of physicality where our players are pushing off of their defenders. And then us talking about a level of physicality where their defenders are initiating contact and we're responding to that by pushing off. And so it's kind of a vicious cycle where, you know, if they start pushing us, we push back, and both of those are actually technically fouls by the rule book. So I think it's a matter of just both teams getting on the same page about how much body is it okay to put on, and if we're going to be having a little bit of physicality, we can't, one side can't call fouls without the other side calling fouls. And if we're all okay with being physical, then we just have to be okay with it and not call those fouls.
Intensity aside, this is a very close game. I believe you guys have turned it over only 4 times in the first half. What are you seeing from your offense that you're happy about, and are there any adjustments you want to make in the second half?
Well, I think, first of all, hats off to their defense. They're putting on a really good level of pressure, especially around the handler space. And so, you know, the message that I've been giving to the team is just that we need to double down on exactly the way that we like to reset the disc. So we're playing into their hands if we have double and triple cuts where one person is trying to get it, and we really succeed if we run a system in which we go through 2 or 3 reads and let the person who's open get the disc.
All right, well, good luck in the second half. Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
Back to you, Evan.
Well done, Megan. Really good stuff in digging out of BVH, and we thank Ben for his time and perspective as well. This game is on serve. PoNY broke to lead 2-0. Truck Stop broke to tie at 6-all. On serve, PoNY and Truck Stop at the half.
There is a place where we are us at our best.
A place where everyone is welcome.
Regardless of age, shape, skin color, or anything else that tries to box people in.
A place where we defy the odds, defy the naysayers,
and even defy gravity.
A place where it's accepted that success
doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave, to the determined.
A place that knows grit, knows grace, knows bright lights, and knows empty bleachers.
A place where we remember to laugh.
Where we learn to trust.
Learn to high-five strangers.
And eventually, even learn to fly.
A place where character, community, and competition
are all as balanced as a disc in flight.
That place isn't in a stadium or on a field.
That place is in the spirit of our players.
Because we don't just play Ultimate, we live Ultimate.
The last 50 years have seen a lot of positive change
around a whole range of important issues.
And some things remain reassuringly unchanged.
Like the spirit of our game.
Ultimate is 50 years young
and still a perfect circle
of fair play,
athletic pursuit,
and camaraderie.
In fact, Ultimate was a social network
before social networks even existed.
Respetamos nuestras diferencias
and understand the value that they add.
The revolution of the disc in flight continues to prove
that there's nothing we can't achieve
when we
pull together.
Long live Ultimate.
Larga vida Ultimate.
Long live Ultimate.
It's PoNY leading Truck Stop 8-7 at the half. DC will receive to start the second half in a little bit. Both teams cooling off, hydrating, and we'll show you what happened in this first half. An intensity-filled display. A really nice ultimate.
This PoNY O-line looks like it's working its new pieces in quite well. You could see Grant Lindsley on the same page with Jimmy Mickle. And early on, PoNY was in control, breaking, but Truck Stop responding throughout the half.
Yeah, where would Truck be without Rowan McDonald, who made a number of tough catches in that half, and the one time he made a mistake, he got it back with both the block and the goal.
The latter part of this first half is where the physicality really started to amp up in the dump set, as we get another look at Jimmy Mickle uncorking a perfect backhand huck. And I wouldn't call this one a perfect huck, but another lengthy, almost full field response. An incredible display on the finish by McDonald.
Nathan Pryor involved in the throwing as well, and here's the catch near the sideline of the second effort. McDonald adjusting, getting the feet in bounds. That made it 6-5. Here was the break. Delrico Johnson kissed that disc. 6-all. Later, Lindsley to Dean, 7-6 PoNY. After the strip call, ruled a foul. Schaffner shooting it for Boxley. That evened things up 7-all, and then Keegan, he was walking off the field before Grant Lindsley caught this disc, confident that Grant would finish the play. Keegan in the mix, as he often is, in terms of the offense and the contentious intensity between the two teams. There's a healthy respect. There's also a healthy hunger to win the battle. PoNY and Truck Stop coming up.
What would it look like if a competitive sport didn't mean a choice? Between beauty and brutality, style and steel. Between calling yourself out and clawing to stay in. What if there was a game that found balance? Between spirit and sport, agony and elation, like a disc dancing on air.
We now have evolved into a team sport of a game called Ultimate. It stands by itself in that it is like no other game.
Between perfect passes and devastating drops. Like the balance we so desperately needed, we had no choice but to create it ourselves. Long live grit and grace. Long live Ultimate.
The last 50 years have seen a lot of positive change.
Around a whole range of important issues.
And some things remain reassuringly unchanged.
Like the spirit of our game.
Ultimate is 50 years young
and still a perfect circle
of fair play,
athletic pursuit,
and camaraderie.
In fact, Ultimate was a social network
before social networks even existed.
Respetamos nuestras diferencias
and understand the value that they add.
The revolution of the disc in flight continues to prove
that there's nothing we can't achieve
when we
pull together.
Long live Ultimate.
Larga vida Ultimate.
Long live Ultimate.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the U.S. Open, the second semifinal that we're covering today. PoNY leading Truck Stop 8-7. I am joined by Truck Stop head coach Daryl Stanley. Thank you so much for taking a moment to talk with us. Listen, there's been a lot of contention in the first half of the game. I know you've been in communication with PoNY, with the observers. What's the resolution you have come to at this point?
Well, I mean, you know, it's a self-officiated game, so the resolution comes from the players on the field, and the observers are trying to do their best to facilitate that. For me, I felt heard by the observers, and we've been in communication with sometimes the players who are in the situation, sometimes the captain, sometimes spirit captain. So, I think both teams are trying to find a resolution. But we'll see what happens. I think they'll come to a good solution, and we'll get a good, clean game.
Well, it's a really tight game, and you have a lot to cover in the half. What information did you prioritize to your team? What are you looking to do in the second half?
Yeah, honestly, I kind of put out to the fact that, it is still on serve, right? We started this game on defense. So with that thought, it feels like we're in this hole, maybe because of the heat, maybe. Those are, external factors. The fact is, we're right where we were supposed to be at the start of the game. So we're going to come out on offense, and if our offense keeps working like it did in the second part of that first half, then we feel really good about our defense getting it back out there and putting pressure. And if they can put that pressure on, like, it's probably going to come our way. So I feel like the tide's going our direction.
And how do you think the team is handling both the sensation that they're in the hole, as well as, you know, having to adjust their style of play to deal with the tension? How are they handling that on top of the heat and this being the semifinal of the U.S. Open?
I think they're doing a great job. I mean, there's a lot of sideline guys who are really calm too, and like, you know, I'm trying to channel that calm too. And I think there's like 80 or 90% of people who are in that place. So therefore, all of our guys are in that place, right? It's really just like, it's really not that much pressure for them because they're focused on you know, playing the game and enjoying the moment.
All right, well, good luck in the second half. Thanks for taking the
Thank
time.
you.
Stick with us. More action coming up.
Popular conversation at halftime was how were these teams working toward a resolution, given the tension we saw in the first half. And Sean Keegan and David Cranston, former teammates, doing their best to work closer and closer to resolution and define that line of physicality that's acceptable. You saw these guys matching up against each other throughout the half. Keegan drawing some other matchups as well. And these guys just trying to understand what's acceptable when you're attacking in the dump space as a receiver and when you're defending in the dump space as a defender.
Safe to say the can of worms is open. Meanwhile, there's a semifinal that is about as close as could be through 15 points. DC with a disc looking to tie it up at 8. Nathan Pryor begins the possession with the disc at the brick. Picked up by Matt Lamar. Quick give and go with Ted Sider. McDonald. Man of many throws to Pryor. Shoulder to shoulder with Lamar and a stoppage. By the way, soft cap is a little more than 17 minutes away. The clock toward the cap does not halt during any extended stoppage in the first half, either for the heat or for the spirit conversation. It does stop for the extended halftime, necessitated largely by television.
Tighter, Mike! Tighter, Mike!
Back to Rowan. Gus Norbaum.
Take your time. Inside. Take our time.
Markham Schaffner floats it, but not high enough. That's a mistake by Markham. He wants it back. Truck turnover.
Flat out missed execution here.
Lamar picks up for PoNY. Good flick up the line. Marquez Brownlee launching deep. Kevin Norton in the end zone. What a shot from Marquez Brownlee. And PoNY breaks to begin the second half.
Great work by Lamar getting this play started, working against that straight up mark, and then Brownlee having confidence in that matchup, and great body control by Freund. I understand he got beat deep for that goal, but you could see he was contemplating going up for that disc more aggressively, and rather than launching himself in a manner where he could do nothing but land in the receiver's back, he held up.
And what a shot for the Brownlee brand. Not that it needed much enhancement. MKBHD, one of the most popular YouTubers in the world, especially when it comes to technology. Multi-millions follow him on YouTube and Twitter. He's got game on the field here in the semis of the U.S. Open. Gorgeous dime to Norton. How about this? The PoNY D line breaking truck stop on the first D point of each half. At 2-0 in the first half. They get the break here. Their second break of the game, up 9-7. Spiva rips it long, looking for Christian Johnson. And he macked it to himself unintentionally, which puts him in the end zone for the score. Christian Johnson with a grit of his teeth, feeling fortunate to salvage this one.
This is something we haven't seen a lot of this weekend. Truck stop O-line, centering to Nicky Spiva. Nicky with the green light to rip deep on the first throw. And you see just how deadly he can be when he slots into that position. And great concentration by Johnson, following up after that unintentional mack into the end zone.
Worth mentioning, Spiva and Johnson playing offense because the offense got broken and they're the D-line that's out there on O.
Absolutely right.
They're going to stay out there for the ensuing D point. Along with Castine and Cranston, Johnson. Down to the other end of the field, the typical names for PoNY. Nickel, Keegan, Kocher, Lindsley. Alex Thorne joining the PoNY O-line in 2019 with Dean and Garvey. By the way, Sockeye and Ring were tied 5-5 in the first half in the other semifinal. That was a few minutes ago. At the moment, it's 7-7 late in the first half. Pretty close games in the semifinals. Both women's games going to Universe Point. This one 9-8, another one 7-7. Alex Thorne looking for Mickle with Spiva nearby, and Spiva forced Jimmy to go up early, and there's a foul call. This is one of those plays where it looked like there was contact, but was it catchable? Well,
uncontested foul.
He got his hand on it.
Uncontested foul, on one.
Spiva does not contest.
No, you're fine. Yeah. You're both moving.
Good.
So, Nicky, you can check it in when you're ready, buddy. Sure.
Ooh, that was great defense by Cranston.
Timeout call.
In front of the end zone. And
Timeout.
Dean is shaken up.
Timeout.
Cranston positioned himself right in the cutting lanes that Dean was going for.
Is there a call? There was an injury, which is... Okay, injury call.
And you can hear Hank Carey explaining to Dean, you charged right into it.
Yeah.
Cranston had the space and was holding his ground.
No, so... There wasn't timeout called, but if the injury happened first. So, yeah.
No, what are we in on, is my question. Do we know?
5. They said it was 4 seconds ago.
Do we know when that occurred?
I don't know when that... Do you know when that occurred?
I'll drop one for you. Make it 4.
When did that happen?
Hey, Jimmy, between you two, what do you want?
When was the injury called?
I don't know. That's what I was asking.
They told me it was 4 seconds.
Does anyone know, when the injury was called?
Okay. Coming in on 5.
Negotiator Nicky.
There's no timeout on the field.
You see Dean run into the chest of Cranston.
No timeout. It's on 5.
Bill.
Yeah, New York.
And Mickle does take the timeout. I'll tell you, Ian. Athleticism, throwing ability, composure, and in some sense diplomacy. All factors that go into being a good ultimate play.
We got a timeout here. You want to have a rules conversation?
Let's do it.
So, of the proposed rule changes, I do like the ability of players on the field to seek perspective from teammates or sideline participants or video boards to enhance their perspective.
That's common sense.
If they're available. I'm not a fan of turnovers, or excuse me, timeouts when teams don't have timeouts left, no longer resulting in turnovers.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
I'm not a fan of that.
Right now, if you call a timeout when you don't have one, it's a turnover. The rules are threatening to change that by making the stall count go higher, which both you and I agree would be a foolish change.
I do like accelerating, or I guess I should say decreasing the time between points, bringing that down from 90 seconds to 75 seconds. I think there's room to bring that even further, but I love that they're moving in that direction, or at least proposing to move in that direction.
There's still room for improvement there, though.
There's a snippet of some of my first thoughts. We got action here. We'll see what else we have time for later.
Kocher unable to land in the end zone. Castine counting the stall as the swing goes to Mickle. Continue for Lindsley. And into the end zone.
Let's go.
It's Little. Like he so often did a year ago, Little on the PoNY offense punctuates the point. And it's 10-8.
Kocher so close to being in there, but then PoNY perfectly content to dump and swing the disc the width of the field. I mean, I got to imagine the youth coaches here couldn't draw up a better learning experience for young players who may be impatient and always have eyes for the end zone. Hey, you might be right on that doorstep, but look at how the best in the game do it when they're there. When option one by that front cone isn't there, they're fine losing yards. They're fine resetting the disc. And the value comes in changing that point of attack. Once you do that, those new options and new angles open up.
2 goals, 2 assists for Lindsley. 10-8 the score here. By the way, Sockeye just took half on Ring, 8-7 in the other men's semifinal.
Hey, we can set the line of scrimmage.
Sockey's got some new faces on their roster as well. Very different looking Seattle squad, especially from the Sockeye team of just 3-4 years ago in particular.
That's right.
A few veterans like Matt Rader, Duncan Lynn, Phil Murray still around, Julian Hausman. Other than that, feels like a brand new team the last 2-3 years.
New coaching staff as well.
Mike Caldwell and David Hogan taking over Seattle Sockeye on the sidelines. Truck stop working downfield to Norbaum. And here's Pryor, harassed by Little, who just caught the goal. McDonald shoots it for Wodach. And into the end zone, well adjusted to by Boxley. That was as easy of an offensive point Truck stop has had.
Once again, who's back there distributing? Who's just keeping the disc moving and not playing any kind of hero ball? Nate Pryor.
McDonald to Wodach to Boxley to finish the point, brings DC within 1 as the scoreboard clock ticks under 6 minutes remaining until the soft cap. Let's rewind 1 year. Men's semifinals were Saturday night last year. In order to get into the semifinals, PoNY needed a crazy comeback against Truck Stop. And then they went on to beat Ring in the semis and Sub-Zero in the finals and won their first leg of the Triple Crown Tour and began the journey upward. It was mid-afternoon. I mean, it was virtually 1 year ago exactly on the Saturday at the US Open, mid-afternoon, where PoNY's ascendance really started against Truck Stop in that last pool play game that Truck was in disbelief that it blew.
And I think that was a galvanizing moment for this PoNY squad.
No question.
Believing and knowing and understanding what they were capable of. And again, that was a tournament where some of their top pieces, many of those same ones who aren't active this weekend, weren't able to contribute at that time as well.
Making the mark to Mickle. Low line drive to Garvey. Couple guys from the Truck O-line stealing the point here on D, McDonald and Boxley. And it does not stop PoNY. Alex Thorne all alone. PoNY converts.
Wasn't the first time Alex Thorne had separation on that point. He had started to streak up that sideline earlier, but I believe Keegan had the disc on the sideline and had already adjusted his look and was looking to reset or swing the disc. Mickle doing great work there, advancing up the break side to Harper Garvey. Such a thankless job for Nikki Spiva, trying to defend and hold the force against a thrower with Mickle's skill.
PoNY back up 11-9. Ian, we have only had one turnover in the last 8 points in this game. That was Markham Schaffner's low release backhand near the end zone that did not float long enough to become the equalizing assist. Marquez Brownlee a couple throws later, launched deep. That was the break, and no turn since.
20 seconds to close.
Brownlee's shot made it 9-7. Each team with a couple of holds, and Marquez back out there on D with Hatchett, Lamar, Meeser, Drost, Little, and Paget. Truck stop offensively with Seither and Norbaum. Some youth in the backfield with Pryor. Downfield, Freund, Schaffner, Wodach, and McDonald. Been impressed with how much responsibility Truck Stop has put on some of its young guys' shoulders, and even more impressed with how those guys have handled it. Thinking about Hess and Norbaum and Seither.
And that responsibility is spread out on both sides of the disc. We're seeing Norbaum and Seither shouldering more offensive handling load, and Hess taking some tough defensive matchups, though his impact hasn't been as great in this game as we saw him having earlier in the tournament.
Oh, too hot on that throw, and if there was ever a commentator's curse, it might have been right there as Seither fired that one in there. A missile past the bidding McDonald. And another red zone turnover from this Truck Stop O-line. DC is now 2 for 5 in the red zone this game. Can PoNY make them pay? Odad tried to poach, but Paget able to get there. Little low throw, Brownlee near the sideline, inbounds. Everybody going deep for Marquez, so he'll take the reset to Little. Nice dish. Good swing, Lamar. Continues for the bidding Alarcon.
Drop 10.
Albert Alarcon.
Up.
Misidentified him at the start of the PoNY, and I said that Meeser was out there. I meant Alarcon, and Jack Hatchett takes the timeout with PoNY about 20, 25 yards away from, frankly, what would feel like the dagger, because we're closing in on soft cap. With a timeout, we're now ensured that the soft cap will go on after this point. And hey, we've seen DC New York comebacks on Saturday afternoon at the U.S. Open, so nothing is certain, but this would put PoNY in a pretty good spot.
And trying to understand what DC can do. I feel like PoNY has just weathered almost every challenge that's been thrown its way, especially its offensive unit this game. They've clearly been frustrated by what they perceive as overly aggressive defense, but they have not been able, they have not let that shake their focus or execution.
And PoNY wanted to play well this weekend because they did not play great at Pro Elite Challenge. They lost to Toronto Goat in a quarterfinal game there. Sockeye beat Truck Stop in the Universe Point final. Of course, Sockeye and Truck both on opposite sides of the semifinal bracket here in Minnesota. Pretty ironic that Cleveland Smokestack won the Select Invite West and Vancouver Curious George took the Select Invite East. More cognitive directional dissonance.
Joe Linger! Joe Linger! Joe Linger! Oh!
Pro Championships 4 weeks away in Pennsylvania.
Markham, we gotta be tighter. Markham, we gotta be tighter. Markham, we gotta be tighter.
Little to the end zone for Drost. That's a well-delivered disc from Sam Little, who's had a strong second half, contributing in a variety of ways. 12-9 game to 14.
Just unfortunate for Truck Stop. The second time an open backhand for a goal has fallen incomplete and been the offensive unit's undoing. Great patience from Sam Little, helping to quarterback this unit with Matt Lamar and Evan Paget and Jack Hatchett after the turnover. And he's able to spot the poached receiver, Drost, in the front corner.
PoNY has converted both of its break opportunities here in the second half. Those are the only 2 turnovers, Ian, in the second half. And it takes us to another hydration timeout. This PoNY team not at full strength, but even missing some key players like Ben Yant and Ben Katz and potentially Jeff Babbitt and Bo Kittredge. Still incredibly strong. And they are 2 points away from another trip to a U.S. Open final for Ben Van Hoevelen and Brian Jones. Sockeye won the title 2 years ago, taking down Revolver in a pretty fantastic performance all around. It was Machine that won the U.S. Open in 2016. That was in Rhode Island. We were up in New England around 4th of July. Before then, it was all Revolver, and this is as good a time as any to mention San Francisco Revolver, who has not made semifinals at back-to-back tournaments for the first time since 2007. I mean, that's the level of domination over the last dozen years we've seen from San Francisco Revolver. 5-time national champions. They've been in the final at nationals 9 of the last 10 years. And they still have a lot of great players. Ashlyn Joy, Cassidy Rasmussen, Nick Stewart, Simon Higgins, Eli Kearns. I could keep running down the names. But it's a different feel. They've got a different coach. They've got different leadership. And at the U.S. Open this year, there were different results. What do you make of Revolver going forward?
I think this year is a great opportunity for them to start to integrate a new, younger class of leaders and talent. I'm thinking about additions, for instance, like Ian Sweeney coming out of Cal Poly Slow and stepping onto that O-line. I think this season is going to be unquestionably a transitional year, given how many departures they had, and really need to understand what the team's identity is going to be moving forward. So many of those pieces that have been in leadership, in coaching, involved in the team in some way, not in the fold anymore. And it's now up to this squad to build its new identity and find what chemistry it can manufacture.
There was a strange vibe with Revolver kind of at the end of last year. You felt a turning point. And Bo Kittredge had left going to PoNY after the 2017 season. And now both George and John Stubbs moving on. And Mike Payne had moved on before the 2018 season. Then they lose Martin Cochran, who had stepped in for a year. An interesting ascension with Malika Anderson going from the team's athletic trainer to now their head coach. It's not clear to me how much strategic authority she has or how much time she's had to implement things, or whether they're more primarily a captain-led team now. That's not entirely clear. But they still have tons of talent. And frankly, they're new pieces, and you mentioned some of them. I mean, Adam Reese from Oregon and Hunter Corbett has been an impactful player on multiple levels. I'm curious to see what they can evolve into, and I'm sure they will be running their loser ladders out on Monday or Tuesday at the Bay Area.
Maybe they will be. Maybe they're forming a different tradition. Who knows?
Jack Hatchett after the hydration timeout and the Revolver tangent. Launching the pull, which lands inbounds. 5 yards shy of the goal line. Reset to Norbaum and swing for Wodak. A gainer to Boxley. He's playing with a hood. Nathan Pryor's got a quick release. Swings the disc. And now DC progressing toward the red zone with Wodak. Pretty sure that was Brian Jones screaming tighter from the New York sidelines, and not a defensive possession he'll be thrilled by there. Truck stop cutting through the PoNY defense like a hot knife through butter.
I love that Rowan, in an effort to get that disc out of his hands quickly, just released a scuba on that wide open shot to Wodak. And good to see a wide open backhand in the red zone working out for once here for this DC offense after their misfortune earlier in the half.
Boxley to Norbaum to finish the point. After a first half in which each team turned it over just 4 times. New York still with just 4 turnovers for the entire game. Truck stop now 3 for 6 in the red zone after a couple of missed opportunities earlier this half.
I mean, that's emblematic of why this PoNY team has the target on its back. They play a level of ultimate that other teams aspire to. And I mean, heck, I'm sure they'd probably tell you, hey, if we're in the national championship game and we have 4 turnovers, it's 3 or 4 too many.
Well, what they did to Revolver last year, it's still incredible to think about, because we had never seen Revolver get shellacked the way they were in the finals.
I was dumbfounded.
And it's not like we didn't think they could beat Revolver, because we had seen that several times, but it was the level of domination that Grant Lindsley endured as a member of that Revolver team. To Kocher. And Mickle. And Lindsley.
Oh my God.
Too many riches for this New York team. Mickle to Lindsley to Kocher, a World Games connection. Makes it 13-10. New York within 1 of another championship berth at the US Open.
Again, good things happen when you swing the disc. You force the defenders downfield to reposition, to be more responsible for more width that their receivers might cover, and that inside backhand space is just wide open for Lindsley to finish to Kocher.
Against the building over there. It's a Ford SUV, Minnesota plate 268.
Lindsley involved in 6 of the 13 PoNY scores.
Hopefully that's going to get moved real soon by the person with the keys in their pocket, because otherwise it's going to be a tow truck that moves it.
Grant Lindsley, thoughtful, competitive. You don't see him get overly emotional all that often, but the very first point of the tournament he did, because he was laid out into by a Comunidad El Oso player from Colombia. The very first point of the tournament, and PoNY threw some verbal jabs at the Colombian team early, and there was immediate apologies. Grant ended up catching the score after he got fouled, and spiked the disc emphatically. Freund taken off with little defending. The deep shot from McDonald is blocked.
And it looked like Little was step for step, if not a step ahead, by the time that disc was in catchable range.
And he caught up brilliantly. Had good position. So in a game to 14, this could be the final possession. PoNY trying to complete a perfect second half offensively. This is Meeser. Over to Hatchett. Longtime Boston standout in his first year with New York. Talking to Jack, know he's really enjoyed the fresh perspective of being part of a new top-level team. And the feeling is mutual. PoNY's delighted to have him.
The rich just seemed to get richer this offseason, Evan.
Back corner, back corner, back corner, back corner. Back corner.
Clark Kofer bluffs the big scooper, takes the reset for Sam Little. Floating it to Meeser. DC's playing some tight defense, but the handler movement and the decision-making of the throwers to throw some of their resets open is what stands out.
The more this point drags on, the greater the temptation to end it with a shot to the end zone, and
hammer over the top. That'll do it. Conrad Schlor wide open, hauls in the winner, and it's PoNY finishing the game with a break. 14-10 for the second straight year. Proud of New York. On to the finals at the U.S. Open.
Well, a convincing, well-earned victory for PoNY. I think DC showed that they belong in this top tier in this men's division. As if there were any questions coming into this weekend after their finals appearance at the Colorado Cup tournament.
PoNY lost in quarters in Colorado. They are headed to the finals where they'll face either Sockeye or Ring. That game 9-9 right now in the second half. PoNY pulls away down the stretch, takes down DC Truck Stop, 14-10. The USA Ultimate US Open Club Championships are presented by Spin Ultimate, providing custom team uniforms and ultimate apparel since 2007. Visit Spin Ultimate on the web at spinultimate.com. By the Ultimate History Book, illuminating the legendary stories, moments, and photos from the sport of Ultimate over the past 50 years. Learn more at ultimatehistorybook.com. And by Discraft, home of the Ultra Star, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Now featuring an updated website to make ordering custom discs easier than ever. Visit Discraft.com for all your custom disc needs. Back at the US Open, imagine that will be an interesting post-game conversation as PoNY and Truck Stop take in the 14-10 result. PoNY coach Brian Jones standing by on the field with Megan Tormey.
Thanks, Evan. Brian, you had some major new pieces to integrate this year. Jimmy Mickle, Grant Lindsley, Jack Hatchett. How did you go about integrating them into your system and having them be so impactful as we saw them be today?
Well, Grant's pretty easy to implement. I mean, he's just so good at every facet of the game, whether it be handling, whether it be playing defense or offense. You can kind of stick him anywhere and he's going to work. Jack has been interesting because we know Jack has a really good ability to completely take away a player. And a lot of our defensive sets are about team defense. And Jack can play a little bit more individualistic, which is good in a way because he can take a lot of risks and get a lot of blocks as a result of it. So we're still figuring out how to best use Jack, whether it's take the top matchup, whether it's contain the top matchup, whether it's go for the blocks, or whether it's poach off of another matchup.
Well, the second half was just about as perfect of a half as you could have. No turnovers, and you converted every opportunity that they gave you. What did you see that you hope to improve upon, and what do you hope to take over tomorrow?
Well, we forgot to force for a couple points. We had a couple of breakdowns there where we let up some easy goals. When we go through each game, we want to defensively, we only want to give up 3 easy possessions. Like, that's kind of our goal, is like have 12 be really hard, and even if they score, as long as it's the way we dictate them to score, it's great. And so we had a lot of possessions in the first half where Rowan made an incredible play, jumping back in bounds and catching the disc. And that's one where it's like, okay, we're going to live with that. But when we forget the force or we have a breakdown, that's what we need to be working on going forward to get better.
All right, well, we're still waiting to see who you face off tomorrow, either Ring or Sockeye. Do you have a preference?
Yeah, we've already seen Ring. So, I mean, here and early in the season, you want to see every single team. And Sockey's incredible. I wouldn't be unhappy to face Ring, but I'm kind of secretly hoping for Sockeye.
All right, well, I hope you get what you wish for. Congratulations on a fantastic game today. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Back to you, Evan.
Great stuff, Megan. Sockeye just broke Ring, the lead 10-9. We'll see if Brian gets his wish. An impressive performance. A few shaky throws that I'm sure Truck Stop will want back. I mean, DC was impressive throughout this tournament, but just not quite good enough, not quite clean enough yet. DC didn't win, but they did win Artist Craft Play of the Game because this grab by Rowan McDonald is worth checking out again.
I tell you what, Rowan did everything he could to keep his team in this game, and so many impressive elements on this catch. Not only sticking with it for the second effort, but also having the presence of mind and wherewithal to bring his feet back in bounds to make this catch. That's an all-star level play from the DC leader.
McDonald, sensational stuff. He was impactful all game long. But Truck Stop does ultimately fall short, with PoNY finishing the game with a few breaks in the second half to win it 14-10. Sockeye and Ring tight down the stretch. One of those teams will advance to the ESPN 2 telecast at high noon Eastern time, 11 a.m. local time here in Minnesota. PoNY will battle the winner of Sockeye and Ring. We're only halfway through our quadruple header of semifinal coverage today on ESPN 3. Back-to-back mixed semifinals coming up beginning at 5:30 Eastern time. That's 45 minutes from now. Seattle Mixtape versus San Francisco Mischief in the opener. And then Minneapolis Dragon Thrust against Boston Snake Country, the nightcap later tonight. New York PoNY, defending national champs, defending Triple Crown champs. 2019 Triple Crown still alive. For Ian and Megan, I'm Evan. We'll talk to you in a bit.